All right, all right. Let's continue with this interview. It's a long interview. That's why I had to break it down into segments because it's a lot to cover. Like the last video, I had to do two of them just because I couldn't condense everything into just one short 10-minute video. I'm trying to make it under 10, but hey, it is what it is. Anyways, let's keep continuing exploring this black Christian versus black atheist debate. Very interesting conversation. If you want to learn more about it or watch the whole video in its entirety, go to Jubilee channel, and then the link is in the description. So let's go.
Considered exploring other religions or leaving the church?
Yeah, this should be an interesting one. That was it. Hey, I've considered leaving or going to a different.
Well, I have left the church because I grew up in it. It wasn't for me. Especially once I became a high schooler, started hanging out with different crowds of people and seeing how different people live, expanding your bubble. And I had my first friend that identified as being LGBTQ, and my parents did not like that. Didn't want me hanging around this person, and it was strictly because they believed that because they were homosexual, they were going to lead me into a life of sin, and that person's going to die and go to hell and be punished just because of their lifestyle. And then I was already questioning, even when I was a little kid, things about the church. And because of that one fact, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I need to be somewhere where people feel accepted, because if it's something with homosexuality, then I could go to another church. It could be something with my blackness or being a woman or something else. There's always going to be some dividing factor. I also went through a lot of trauma. I had lost like 3 people that I loved all like in a row. And the question kept coming up of, what does happen to us after we die? I don't just think that it's a heaven and a hell. There has to be something more than this.
Yeah. And I'll have to say this, my 2 cents. I've struggled with that question almost all my life. What happens? Because people keep saying they've had these near-death experiences, which I'll do some reviews on those ones and cut through the garbage. But what really happens when we die? Nobody can answer that. The Bible doesn't give that. It promises over heaven and hell. Well, we can't even tell where heaven is right now. Last time I checked, Jerusalem was supposed to come down here. But hey, leave a comment down below. Tell me, what do you think happens after we die?
And when I brought up these questions within the church, I was really like shunned for it, pushed away. Or people just didn't have an answer for me. Mm-hmm. And I began to see that fear even within my own parents, because they didn't want to question their belief. That's a cornerstone for them. That's their comfort.
I feel like for me, I've questioned leaving the church early on in my early years of faith. My parents went through a really nasty divorce, so much that it had scarred my mom that she has walked away from religion in general. She has walked away from God and doesn't go to church. I think my brothers have seen that, and they are now grown young adults, and they don't believe in that as well. And there was a low point in my life where I tried to reach out to people, and I just wasn't getting the answers. I wasn't understanding my purpose and my reason in life, where I was second guessing my existence. Naturally, we are curious beings, and so I was just naturally diving deeper into my word, diving deeper into understanding, like, why am I going through what I'm going through? And is this something that I blame God, or is this something that is the free will and the sin that is just corrupted in humanity?
Well, I see what she's saying, but if we were born into sin, whose fault is that? Is it our fault, or is it God's fault for making us become sinners? Because we didn't choose it if we were inherently born a sinner. So again, this whole religion thing is just complicated in itself, and it requires deep thinking. You have to dig deep into your thoughts and, cut through the nonsense and understand what, at the time when these texts were written, what was happening. I mean, there's so many religions out there, and they all can be right, and none of them can be wrong. So we can't say Christianity is the right one or Muslim is the right one, because everybody has an opinion. We don't have facts as to which God is the real God, if there is a God. Excuse me. But I do get what she's saying. Sometimes when you're in that lonely state where you feel like the world has disowned you, has left you, you don't know who to turn to for answers, That's how people turn into religion, and they start thinking, oh, Jesus will save me. Instead of finding help, when help is not available, it's a tough choice. What do you do? Then I feel like people fall back to religion whenever they are being oppressed or going through something. I haven't met someone who's living a good life, living their life, saying, you know what, I'm gonna be of this religion just because I'm happy about where I'm at. It always starts with someone going through something that is, or going through a struggle. That's what I meant to say.
I have no control over it, but there's still choices that I can make that can overcome the challenges that I'm going through. So that's personally and with the church that I've experienced.
I left the Catholic Church. I left it. And what I didn't leave was a central belief in God. So I was more agnostic than I was Christian, Catholic. And the reason why I left it was because of the rhetoric that I constantly heard. I grew up in a protected bubble. Okay, I grew up in the Catholic Church.
Gotcha. Remember earlier I said it felt like she grew up sheltered? Now look at her now.
I went to Catholic grammar school, Catholic high school. I went to Fordham University, a Jesuit Catholic college, right? But for me, it was more of that question of how dare you, as a Black person, believe in white Jesus? So for myself, okay, show me what you got. I went through Islam. I even went to the 5%ers, okay?
Yeah,
The Israelites, okay.
Hey, somebody let me know what the 5%ers are. I don't know what that is. I have to look it up.
Okay, gotcha. Buddhism, oh, okay. And I even went to the Black church because I figured if I'm gonna be Christian, I'm Black. Why are you a Catholic? Go to the Black church. So my favorite place to go outside of the Catholic church is West Angeles, honey. Okay, I'll be in there. That is my spot. But what changed for me? How did I get back to Catholicism? Well, we all believe in communion as Christians. That's something that we hold for ourselves. And when we had communion at West Angeles, this is where we have some divide between all of us, right, as Christians. The presence of Christ in the Eucharist is something that for me was a real thing that I cannot let go because of what he told us.
If the rumors are correct about the Eucharist, and I do not want to offend anyone, so do not try to contact YouTube here. You know what? Just go to Myth Vision and search for his videos about the Eucharist. I'm going to let him say it. I'm not going to be saying it. I'm trying to grow the channel. So I'll leave that to Derek over at Myth Vision.
Scripturally. So I think for me, my experience, even though I left, I was in apostasy for a while, I have an appreciation for whatever, and a respect for whatever it is that you feel you are called to, so.
Do you think this human experience of religion is due to the discomfort of death that humans have?
Yes.
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 Well, but for Christians, Christianity, we are not afraid of death. We look forward to death.
Huh? You look forward to what? Death. So right now, if we send the Grim Reaper to you, you'd be like, yo, I'm ready. I highly doubt it, lady. Oh, no. Okay, if you're a Christian, tell me you're looking forward to death. Please. There's a full comment section down there. Explain your reasons why you're expecting or you're looking forward to die. I know I don't want to die. If I could, I would live forever.
I am looking forward to the day I die.
Girl, we
because-
scared. We scared.
No.
Oh, yeah, go ahead and tell them the truth. Yeah, you scared. Everybody's scared of death.
Let me finish that. My father died. My father died the day before my birthday last year. It was a shock to me. But for me, I know where my father is as a man who believed in God to the.
No, you don't. You don't know where he's at. The scripture even says when Job, is it Job or Psalms? I think it's Psalms, says, when I die, I go to Sheol, which just means the grave. And if you're trying to say it's heaven, then your dad already got the reward for being a Christian. So why would Jesus be coming back? If you die, you go straight to him.
The day he died, he is with him. In my belief, he is with him. I will see him again. So.
I think as an atheist, I'm scared of the concept of death or like the process of dying because it is such an unknown. I try to spend more of my time thinking about what I'm doing while I'm alive so that when that time does come, You know, one thing I've always said is that the only life after our deaths are the legacies we create while we're here. That's what lives on, whether it is good or bad. So, but yeah, the concept of death, or like the process, it still scares me.
I'm more
that there's
curious.
a reason. I think that there's a reason for that. I don't think death is supposed to happen to us. As a Christian, all of us humans, we have this visceral reaction to it because that's not how things were supposed to be. If we go back to the garden and all those things, it's the sin nature of humanity, you know.
I disagree. What do you mean that's not how things were supposed to be? So what did the animals do? What sin did the animals commit? Why do animals die? They didn't have anything beating in the Garden of Eden, did they? So again, Christians don't know how to. They have a lazy critical thinking process. If you're saying that humans die because of their sin, then what sin did the animals commit so that they die?
I have more of a curiosity and excitement for once it happens, because to me, this is hell. Like being a spirit stuck in a body on this planet with all these people being super decisive. I think the only reason they get me to come back down here is like, you can eat food again. You can go to Paris.
In a way that I think that there's a difference between saying like, I appreciate death and the concept of death and what it is, then saying like, I actually want to die. I feel like nobody wants to die. But we can still sit
But
here
I mean,
and
if
appreciate
you're in pain,
What are your thoughts on
Well, I never really thought about joining another religion because I was born and raised in the church and very strict into the church. You know what I mean? Like I went to church every day. You know, black church, you're there all day. It wasn't until I joined the military and I had a black friend who was an atheist, and I've never met a black atheist ever in my life. And he planted little seeds, and he was like, Darius, you were born and raised to believe this. This is all you know. You were beaten with this Bible and they tell you that it's the truth.
He's absolutely correct. None of us, especially those coming from Christianity or whatever religion you are in, you're not given the autonomy of thinking for yourself or choosing a religion for yourself. It's what your parents were, or if you grew up when you're a little older, whatever your friends or whatever influence is in there. If we took all the so-called holy texts and tossed them in the fire and start a new generation, we would like to see how that would morphosize itself to all these religions. It wouldn't, because there wouldn't be no reference point, and the people who hold this knowledge now would die out, and eventually people just be, I'm just here.
You know what I'm saying? Even though there's really no evidence of God actually really existing. I started to think about the concept of hell and good and evil, and I started to go through life situations and realize a lot of things aren't black and white at all.
No.
And you can devote your life to a God and go to church every Sunday and pray and do everything, and you can find something in heaven. That's a good, comforting thought. But the reality is there's no proof of any of it.
Blaise Pascal, I want to put a cherry on that.
Let him talk.
Me personally, I went to church until I was 14 years old, twice a week, right? So every Sunday and every Wednesday, right? My ass was in the church, right? From very young, from graduating from Sunday school to actually being around the adults and things like that. We've probably all gone through that process. Once I started to engage in free thinking, and once I got into my former teenage years around like 16, 17, and I was able to kind of get away from my family and get into being really into the Black Power struggle, right? And I found myself identifying with my community, right? And so when I realized Black Christians that I came across were more obsessed with people being gay in the church, was more obsessed with what the images of Jesus look like, and they had no time, essentially, for the things that I believe will help our community. And so I started to dive into different religions. The first religion I dove into was Islam, right? Because I remember going to Harlem and seeing Black Israelites on the streets, right? And those were the first people who cultivated a sense of Blackness in me, right?
Yeah, he's right. If you ever dealt with the Hebrew Israelite community, they instill the pro-Blackness in you. I ain't gonna lie, I have first-hand experience. I'm not gonna say much because, they live around the corner from me. I don't wanna be mobbed.
And it wasn't embarrassing, but then I realized that there was a lot of toxicity.
Yeah.
So then I started to go to Eastern religions and things like that. And eventually I decided to connect my conscious being, right, with my mental being. That's what led me to African spirituality, and it was everything that I personally needed, right, in order for me to continue to engage with everyone like I love them. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of hate on the underside of religion.
So there is a French philosopher, his name is Blaise Pascal, and he has something called Pascal's wager. And I think that you can relate to this regardless of your faith belief. He says that you can make the choice that it's for yourself, that it's better to believe in a God, that there's something, at least that there's something greater than this human condition. Because at the end of
What you mean to say is an insurance policy, right? If I die and there happens to be a God, I'm not gonna be burning. If I die and there isn't a God, I'm still okay.
the day, what it's going to force us all to do is to look at each other as human beings, to serve mankind with kindness, with charity, with care, right? Helping those in need, and to be rewarded at the end of the day that there is a God. But if there is no God, guess what? You still left a legacy of hope on the planet, whether there was a God or not.
Yeah.
And that's how I think
That's
we
the whole
see
what
it.
if you're wrong thing. It's like an insurance policy for something
But
that's
you're
still
Exactly what I said, right? It's an insurance policy.
the same
there
way.
is that's like an insurance policy for something that you still do not know exists, and that's we hear that from a lot of
But
Christians. The whole
can you
Pascal's
explain
wager,
everything?
because I'm not trying to explain
You can't explain everything of the world
But,
either,
you know,
but you
going,
understand science.
But let's let her talk.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm
So
sorry.
so this is that assumes once again that if you don't believe in God, that you're not good.
That doesn't say
and
that.
yes,
Wait.
but
It's
that's
fundamental
exactly-
to our. Sorry to cut you off, but I feel a lot of this like this belief that says that like, oh, you're not good if you don't believe in God. Christians believe that they're not good without God either. Like none of us are.
I don't get it, but it's the same thing.
None of us are good in our own right. So to say that like, oh, Christians now have a pedestal to stand up and say like, hey, I'm better than you now. No,
That's
you're
a lot
not.
of you
It's God. No, listen, they're wrong.
Yeah. Hey, that was an interesting conversation. Y'all let me know what you think. When I see the full video, go to Jubilee channel and check the link down in the description below. You know what to do. Smash that like button, subscribe, share. Let's grow this community, right? I ain't trying to, I'm trying to make some money. I said it. I'm not going to lie. So subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Cheers, y'all.